Hello friends and potential friends. Well, this is probably going to be a pretty quick video today because I'm dodging raindrops. It looks like we are going to try to make up any rain deficit we have for this year. And the next couple of days we should be going over the top a little bit. I think we're already up around 5.5 inches for the year because of the last week or so. And tonight and tomorrow is supposed to be pretty wet. But I've got sweet potatoes that need to go in the ground. As you can see, they're growing profusely. I've got, 22 of them here. And I think that's going to be enough to fill up this bed. So let me get into it and see if I can beat the raindrops. Let's see, we'll start down at this end. Look at that. These things just want to grow. That's going to be close to the right spot. And they're already growing some pretty good roots in there. Okay, that's the part that had to get done. 22 sweet potato seedlings. Pretty much filled up this bed. Now I'll probably have to put some wire around it to give them something to climb on and possibly to keep the kittens out of the raised bed. But they should be good to go for, well, however long it takes for them to grow out and flower and produce seeds, because I want to get seeds from this batch to plant next year. So, and I felt a couple of drops, but so far the camera's dry, so I think I'm doing okay so far. But before I go, there's a couple other things I want to show you real quick. So let's get you off of the tripod and we'll see what we can look at. And part of what I wanted to show you is that new bed. Put it together yesterday, or was that the day before? Days kind of run together. That's 42 inches in diameter, 17 inches tall, just like the other beds. And that certainly would not have been enough for all those sweet potato seedlings. So I'll be filling that up. That's my next step. And then I'm going to start putting sweet potato slips in there. Another thing I want to point out real quick. I mentioned in my last update that I had planted beans and peas over here where the tomatoes used to be. And I got rattlesnake beans coming up everywhere. They started popping up after about 3 days. And over on the other side, I've got the pink-eyed purple hull peas, and they are popping up everywhere. So at the very least, those things want to grow. Oh, and incidentally, the other thing that I planted in here was kiddo corn. And I got one there, and 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 one there. Okay, that's all I spot right at the moment. But the kiddo corn is popping up out of the ground. And over here where I planted the contender corn, I got little corn sprouts popping up in here as well. Bunch of them. Too many, actually. I know I'm going to have to thin those out because I think I planted them about 4 to 5 inches apart. And they're not going to like that. Yeah, one last winter tomato that's almost ripe too. But I think that's going to be about it for today, because I'm feeling more and more raindrops hitting me on the head. Okay, well, before I wrap this up, there is one other thing that I have neglected to mention recently, if at all. Several people have asked me if I was interested in starting a worm bin. Well, I did start a worm bin last year. Keep it right here by the back door. And I've been too cheap to go and buy fancy worms to put in it. So instead, every time I find one out in the garden, I just bring them in here and drop them in the bin. I've probably put maybe 75 to 100 worms in here over the last year. And let's see what we got to show for it. Well, there's a nice sized one. There's another one right down there too. Now this is the end where I've been feeding them. And they are wiggling around all over there. These are just our typical Florida earthworms. Nothing fancy about them, except that they seem to reproduce like rabbits. Because I've been having another problem here, in that I try to get them to move down to that other end of the bed so that I can get into here and look out, Froggy. and harvest some worm castings. But no matter where I dig in here, I'm finding earthworms. And I'll tell you, there are a lot more in here than the ones that I put in here. So yeah, I got a worm bin, but every time I try to harvest castings, I wind up with a handful of worms. And they sure are turning that stuff into good castings. So, yep, there's my worm bin. Poor man's worm bin. I think I paid $8 for each of the tubs. I bought 3 or 4 of them. I'm currently only using 2. Everything else is just scraps and what I find when I dig into the garden. And what I usually find is these guys. Okay, there you go. So, yeah, poor man's worm bin. We have so many earthworms around here that just about every time I dig a hole or try to rake leaves or anything like that, I find more worms. And I'll probably be adding another level to this pretty soon and try to coax them into the upper level so that perhaps I can harvest castings out of the bottom level. But yep, there's the worm bin. Now I'm done. Skies are getting a little bit darker. I looked at the radar before I came out here, and there's a line of showers just north of me, right on the edge. So it'll be here before too long, and I'm going to be inside when it gets here. So now I'll see you next time.